Well, we're live here on the Rich Lieberman Media Pulse. And forgive me, I've had some issues to deal with, and there's already been notice about the Titanic being sunk at KNBR with the firing of Tom Tolbert and John Lund. Now, look, if I'm not going to brag, I don't like it when I have to tell people that I've been saying this now for, well, almost a year. And in the last couple of weeks, I said that KMBR has no cash, had to meet basic turning the lights on payroll. They had to borrow, they being Cumulus, which owns KMBR, had to borrow from whatever gadget fund they have, you know, that puts the lights on and makes sure payroll is met. And now the chickens have come home to roost, so to speak. You can't have an ATM machine, folks, in the building and just keep taking money out of the ATM when you don't know the PIN code. Metaphorically speaking, they don't have the money. Radio, unless you have sports talk, ironically, they don't have sports talk. They haven't had sports talk for a while. They have very limited, talented folks. They have the 49ers and the Giants, but those guys don't print money. They don't subsidize a radio station that's been dead for years now and it has been hanging on, surviving. Now, I'm going to give you the real dope and not the press release crap that you've been reading in the trades the last few hours, or what SF Gate, the Chronicle, took from the Barrett Media guy. My last post was on Tuesday when I said any moment now KMBR could be all syndicated. I said there's going to be some changes and all that. Again, I'm not bragging that people are losing their jobs. Some people I don't really care for, both personally and professionally, but karma is a bitch, as they say, and I don't do that. I'm not a fan of Tom Tolbert, but at least he paid his dues. He had decent outings, and he'll probably latch on somewhere in a limited capacity. Hell, he might even be hired by the Warriors because he does the Warriors radio for home games. At least he has some out. I'm sure he's not starving. The other guy, John Lund, I'm not a fan of, both personally and professionally, because this is a guy that giggles and has been, basically the hound dog for Greg Papa. We'll see how popular, how juice or lack thereof that Greg Papa has, because Greg Papa doesn't print money either. So we'll see how that goes. But I would not be surprised. I would not be shocked, as I said on Tuesday, if somebody on the morning show gets axed or they go after whoever makes $100,000 or more, or even $80,000 or more. Now, let me explain to you these hires that they being KNBR now, that they've been touting the last few weeks. They hired this guy from 95.7 The Game, John Dickinson. They're paying him very, very little money by today's standards. It's like $100, $200, something like that. He's not on salary. And if he is, he's making pennies, or not what you're used to making in the radio business, for that matter, in the broadcast business. I'm going to get to other factors with what has taken place and why KNBR is about to go into the ground. They're dead, basically. So they're bringing on these rejects who were fired before many a time. In fact, John Lund, it's all he has. He goes from market to market. This market, he's lasted a little longer because he got lucky and he found Greg Papa, who needs somebody to depend upon and kneel on. So, he's been able to survive here. Not a very talented guy, and he's gone, But they brought on these other retreads like Larry Krueger, who they fired, ironically, a couple of years ago, along with Rod Brooks. mainly out of lack of money. And that was the beginning of the end. But there was a little bit a little bit of a grace period. Some of these stations found limited funds and created new ad revenues with their penchant now to go on YouTube or Twitch and get some sort of traction. But that doesn't fall well with advertisers because advertisers are switching. I mentioned again my broadcast here Tuesday, a very prominent couple of advertisers, one involving an auto body shop, a lot of money, and they've gone bye-bye. A couple of banks have gone bye-bye. They don't advertise on this radio station anymore. That's a national trend too. Again, I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to get really, really deep into the weeds. I'm just going to give you the lowdown on this particular situation at KNBR because you ain't getting it at SF Gate, which just took the Barrett Media story and a couple of texts acknowledging both of their, well, one, Lund didn't talk. Tolbert just texted a confirmation. I guess he feels some sort of kissy kiss to the Chronicle because they've been nice to him before. So he acknowledged that he's not going to talk to me because obviously I'm going to give you guys the real deal. Folks, it's all centered around money, or in this case, lack of money. They bring back these retreads like John Dickinson. He's, doing a Warriors show. Or they brought back Larry Krueger, who does the 49ers. It's a 1-hour show from time to time. And they're literally paying him $100. Not bad, but not the $200,000 he was making about 2.5 years ago. They can't pay that now, which will ultimately dictate why KMBR. Here's the story. KMBR any day now, as I predicted on Tuesday. Look it up. It's right there. Will be gone, or at least gone as you know it. And will probably be filled with out of town, out of market, syndicated shows, which frankly, and I hate to be cold here, but from an entertainment standpoint, really more informational than what the tripe that KNBR has been putting on because they've been surviving, folks, on just a lack of talent. They have a decaying morning show. They fired Paulie Mack, for God's sakes. He too making too much money. That wasn't such a bad deal because Paulie Mack was truly awful. And they put in this Dorcas guy, Marcus, whatever the hell of his name is, who's basically a fanboy, right? He's cheap. He couldn't be any worse than Paulie Mack was, and making about 80% less than what Paulie Mack was making. And this Murphy, the last guy standing in the morning at KNBR, has been telling friends for months now. He only wants to see if he can be able to put in another year. That would give him 20 years in 2026. So really a little bit more than a year. February of 2026, Murphy will have been at KNBR for 20 years. I don't think he's going to make it. He's doing okay. He's not going to food banks anytime soon. But would he want to work another year? Oh, I guess so. It's very expensive, even by Murph's account, to play golf. You got to have, the money and, raise a family and feed the family, that kind of thing. I would not be surprised any day now, soon. And Cumulus doesn't care about the holidays. In fact, last year, November, that we're coming up on the anniversary, they got rid of all the people, pretty much. They fired about 25 people behind the scenes, people in front of the microphone, imagery people, ad people, producers, anybody that makes any iota of money. That includes producers. They're going to be next, and a few air people. This Tolbert thing, I was not shocked. I've been saying this now for years. But, when the rubber hits the road, kind of, so to speak, you can't keep putting out money when you don't have money. And you can't go to corporate when corporate itself is losing lots of money. Look at their stock. And it's not that much better at 95.7 The Game, which is owned by Odyssey, which has bankruptcy, and the medium is dying. The medium is dying. Okay. Okay. Back to KNBR. So Lund is gone. It'll be interesting to see what happens at 10 in the morning. I know Tolbert, they gave him a chance to do his final show on Thursday. But the bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, and this is not in the press release Barrett Media story. It's just simply, I'll give him credit. He got it. I've been saying this, if you read me or watch me now, that this was any day, any moment now going to happen. It'll be pretty much syndicated. And I would not be surprised, as I said, again, Tuesday, okay, to keep repeating myself, but you wake up, there is no KNBR, basically. It's all syndicated. They'll have the Giants, they'll have the 49ers, but it'll all be programming national, and they might have a local show with regards to the 49ers and obviously baseball for the Giants. And those, are people probably that will be employed by respective teams like the 49ers and like the Giants. And they'll do a pregame show and a postgame show, and that's it. That's it. I said on Tuesday, I thought it might go down after the football season, being that this is 49ers. But again, when you don't have the money, you don't have the money. And the banks were basically, show me the money. The banks don't give a damn whether it's Papa and Lund or Tolbert and Kobe Copes, Dopey Dopes, that kind of a thing. There is basically a situation now with radio, and FM is just hanging on with music. AM, unless you have a strong set of talent, like a WFAN in New York, I've touted them, or a WIP in Philadelphia, where they have people who've been doing this for a while, and they have talent, and they have much more of a, I don't want to say necessarily profitable, but they have a meat and potatoes kind of a presence, and they have established broadcasters, and not the dreck that we have here in the Bay Area, with interns and producers who've been working for a year suddenly thrust upon a microphone when they clearly have no talent. But the bottom line is, and much more directional, they don't have the leverage to make real money, six-figure money. Anything over, I don't know, $60,000. Try living on that in San Francisco, right? Unless you have a spouse. Just can't happen anymore. San Francisco has not had, I see some of the comments coming right now, so I'll probably stay on a little longer. And if you want to talk, or because we're live right now on YouTube, and this is a big story, but I saw it coming. And those of you again who have watched me, and I've been saying this, and look, I don't want to be like, oh, I've been saying this for years. Well, I have been. I just was surprised. I thought they'd wait it out, they being Cumulus, until after the football season. I have been saying this ad nauseum about the state of local radio. If you do not have a strong sports presence, look at what we have in San Francisco. Let's just go down the dial. I'm not going to go to the little teeny weeny stations, but let's start at the far right of that's apropos, 560 KSFO, great callers, no local show, a station that has talk, but it's all right wing, Mark Levin and Sean Hannity, and they have a local Sacramento syndicated show, Armstrong and Getty. Give me a break. These guys are, I call them the Forrest Gump duo. They're banal, they're boring, they're lousy. It's not worthy of even mentioning. But KSFO, syndicated news, talk, primarily right-wing radio. And right-wing radio, if it was good, okay, fine. This is very banal. It's very uninteresting, boring. Then you go 610, the former old station KFRC is now family radio religious programming. KNBR at 680 AM, and KNBR has, of course, their FM 104.5, formerly KFOG, and they got the heave ho today. And folks, this is just the beginning. I keep telling you, don't be shocked if somebody that has a lunatic touchdown call is given the heave ho, although that's less likely, although certainly possible because he's employed by the 49ers for his play-by-play duties, is Greg Papa. But his talk show duties, he gets paid by KNBR Cumulus. And that's a lot of money, probably in the neighborhood of $200,000 Greg Papa makes at KNBR to do talk show. So we'll see on that. But Tolbert was the highest paid KNBR talk host. And look, he'd been there for 28 years, almost. So I would estimate, and this was told to me, I've been on the phone for a few hours. Tolbert was making around 400,000, which a lot of money, but not the kind of money that a lot of the other radio people in that capacity are making or making. He was certainly KNBR's top highest paid talent at around $400,000 range. So again, I don't think he's going to go starving. He's got the Warriors gig. I would not be shocked, although they are in a similar financial predicament, is Odyssey's 95.7 The Game. That's KNBR's rival FM talk station, sports talk. Maybe they pay him a couple of Snickers bars at 95.7 The Game. He already works for the Warriors. The Warriors paid Tolbert. I don't know what he was getting with the Warriors, but, certainly they have a little bit more of a, cash balance setup than does the respective radio stations that told Tolbert to take heave ho. All right, so we have KNBR. KCBS, another station hanging on, owned by Odyssey, the alleged, I say alleged sarcastically, of course, the all news station. They're hanging by. And Odyssey, penny stock. Both of these major companies, Cumulus and Odyssey, which is owned by the fine folks, Intercom, 2-cent stock. Do the math, folks. That doesn't translate into an ongoing situation. So I expect, although people that are paid at 95.7 The Game, you'd be surprised. It's really low. These are people who just, maybe their spouses work. They want to go on the radio and talk like, it's the old days. They're just basically getting by. They have the Warriors, but that doesn't really bring in a lot of cash to 95.7 The Game. Anyway, KCBS. Okay. Then we move up, and they're not in a good situation either. We have then KGO, which, as I described the other day, is basically nothing. It's a warehouse, basically a radio warehouse with a few little shekels on the shelves, hanging on. Nobody listens to it. Actually, the irony of all ironies, there are a couple of shows on there that might be eventually going to KNBR and syndicated that I've been saying to you all, folks. Again, this is not my ego. This is fact. Do not read these trade like Barrett Media and SF Gate. They're giving you the bullshit story, not the real story. That's why I'm here. Sounds a little, egotistical. Fine, so be it. I've talked to the people. Some of these people have contacted me. I didn't need for them to contact me, but I've been kind of dealing with issues today. So forgive me for not doing a broadcast, but I kind of saw this coming. Although in my broadcast on Tuesday, I said it's going to be more catastrophic and that it's going to be more thorough, in which case there won't be any local programs. They might have a small one so they can say, oh, we're still on the air. KMBR, I've been telling you this for weeks and months and years, is no go. They're losing sponsors. They have no ratings. The last book, they went from a 3.6 to a 3.0. They don't have the lineage they used to have, the ad lineage. They're CUME. CUME is CUME. It's a radio term for, how can I put this? Trying to be as layman as possible here. CUME is your overall listenership. It's a key kind of a component that is measured by in-house ads, potential advertisers. And right now, the CUME, let me give you an example. This has nothing to do with KMBR, and I'm going to get back to KMBR in a second here. I see all you here. I'm looking at the comments. I just put out a tweet. I look like crap, folks, because again, I was away, and I even posted a video, send in the clowns, which I'm laughing. I'm not trying to belittle or make fun of people who lost their livelihood. They're going to be okay. They have some built-in, I would assume, reservoirs. And, this was not entirely shocking. Hey, even in good times, folks, radio. Notoriously, we fire a lot of people. They brag about it. There's some folks, like a John Lund, he brags about the fact, oh, I've been fired everywhere. Well, no shit, Sherlock. That is not even an economic end. You were fired because you're lousy. Even with all that, and I can't stand Lund. He's a putz. Quote me. I'm sorry you lost your job, Johnny Lund, but you yourself referred to yourself, as did I, as a radio gypsy. You go from market to market and whatever, But so the bottom line is this. AM and FM, pretty much, not all. It is a lost cause. The medium, and a lot of this has been heightened by the fact of the phones and streaming, and it's just not a vehicle to which the companies, the advertisers, the bread and butter people will pay money now. And this is, mind you, KNBR. You know how bad it is? And it's not just here. A couple days ago, which I also broadcast here, told you, KFI, big news talk station in LA. Guess what? They got rid of Robin Bertolucci. 24 years. She was a big wig in programming. Gone. Her husband, a news director, what have you, gone. They used to have a 24 people. 24 people did KFI in their newsroom. Just a day ago, they got rid of a whole bunch of people. Okay. This is a successful, albeit owned by iHeart, which is hemorrhaging. They're all hemorrhaging money. I don't know how they survive. The only stations now that are going to survive, and not just in this market, are, again, those that have a strong financial foothold. So, and I didn't get past KGO, but you have a few little AM stations survive. Look what happened to Bloomberg, our Bloomberg outlet here. Bye-bye. And that was a station that has flush cash because they're owned by, Bloomberg, David Bloomberg, that kind of a thing. But nobody listens to those stations anymore. In fact, this, folks. I see all of you on the comment line here. I'll try to take some questions too. I wish I had means to where you can, if you want to, though, you can text me and I'll take a few texts and questions and so forth. But a lot of these stations now, they just, and a lot of this is due to the fact that there's too many alternatives out there. We got streaming. We've got, of course, the internet. We've got people simply don't go to radio anymore. They barely go to radio for a football game or baseball games, right? And baseball, though they had a nice World Series and they had two large market teams, New York and LA, Baseball is an old man's sport. It does not translate well to ads, the kind of advertising that advertisers covet. Unfortunately, older people, people in their 60s, past 65, 70s, those are the ones who pretty much still listen to AM radio. And that simply does not translate into financial, shall we say, fluidity again. And when you don't have the revenue, when you don't have the revenue, and KNBR, I said this a couple days, well, not even a couple days, Tuesday, they had to borrow money, did Cumulus, which owns KNBR, to put the lights on, to pay PG&E, I guess, to pay vendors, to meet payroll. And they don't have that many people there. They basically have 2 or 3 people in sales, a few engineers, what they term as producers who do other jobs, and they pay these, they're almost kids. And keep in mind, KMBR is not union. I think there's only 1 or 2 union stations left in San Francisco. So when you don't have the money, and when you rely upon your corporate entity, which doesn't have the money, then you can't keep, doing we'll pay you later. That doesn't exist. The bank doesn't give a shit about the 49ers. The bank doesn't give a shit about Murph and Dorcas or Corpus, or that Papa's, and you know what? Let me predict something too. Papa's going to go on the air, assuming he's got a job, because I wouldn't be surprised if Papa got his walking papers. He does not work. Let me rephrase this. Papa gets paid play-by-play by the 49ers. So he's going to be safe there. He just signed a contract extension about a year ago. But his talk show, he gets paid by Cumulus, KNBR. So, I don't know what they're going to do in terms of replacing Lund. They might put on some, I don't know, intern producer, or they might ask Greg, and he's done this before, to go solo with, a whole bunch of guests. I'm going to tell you something else too, folks, that you're not going to get in the bullshit trades like Barrett Media and SF Gate, which, by the way, and I don't care anymore. I don't want, I laugh at SF Gate, which is owned by the Chronicle. It's a crappy media site. They talk more about burritos than they do about actual news. It's a shit site. It's only there because Hearst, which owns the Chronicle, and shitty SF Gate, this is what we get. This is what we're stuck with. You want real news? You want the behind the scenes? Then you come to me. I'm not gloating. I'm just giving you fact. And I see the comments over here. I can't see it all. And I put out a tweet saying, come watch Rich. And I'm going to give you the real deal. Because, again, I hate to repeat myself, but people come in and out here. I have been gone today. I put up a video of Send in the Clowns, ironically enough, sung by Frank Sinatra. And I guess the clowns made their ways to 755 Battery and told Tolbert and Lund. For now, they're the only ones, but there'll be more. But what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So these, and these guys aren't insiders. These Matt Naoko, and they put on this basketball guy who never breaks any stories. They put these guys on, and they pay them like $100 or something like that per shot. It might be even less than that now. They're going to be gone too. And look, that's just the way it is right now. But Mayoko never breaks any stories. Unless you want to know about the best sandwich shop in Walnut Creek, or the fact that he often talks about his beloved St. Mary's Gales. If you want to know about the best sandwich shop, that's his insight, Andrew Baggerly, another fraud, a guy that talks more about the fact that he went on Jeopardy. Good for him. Baseball, insight? Hell no. And then basketball, John Dickinson, they give him about $100 or $200. He might make a little more because he's got some side deals. But most of these shows are going bye-bye. And if they're going to stay on in some capacity, they're only going to stay on because they don't cost any kind of money. But the name of the game is, folks, when you don't have the moolah, they're going to spin this. Oh my God, are they going to spin this? Bullshit. It is out and out bullshit. You want the real deal. You want the inside dope. If you've been reading me, I don't write as much anymore. I don't write. I broadcast like this. Then you know what was taking place. I've been saying this for years. I got more specific a couple of weeks ago. On Tuesday, we're now at Wednesday evening live here on YouTube. And I got more to say, a lot more. And I got a lot more. I hate to use this word, but predictions. I'm going to try something that I've never tried before, but what the hell? If you want to send me a text, if you want to, I see all these comments, and you want to have a question, I will be happy to answer it if you want to try to send me a text, or I can look up here. Now we got a lot of people here, lots, and that's good. But folks, not mentioned in these stories, these bullshit stories like Barrett Media and like SFK. And by the way, a couple of you folks have sent me, oh, they didn't mention your name, Rich. They didn't mention your name, and they didn't attribute your broadcast on yesterday, with regards to what you said about KNBR's future. Folks, let me say something. SF Gate, SF Chronicle, same. They're a fucking bunch of assholes. I don't need them anymore. I don't want them anymore. I feel delighted. I'm looking at the screen here that you come to me. You know you're going to get the real deal here, the real story, and not the bullshit story that you get at SF Gate. All SF Gate did, talk about a bunch of fucking, lynches and hangers on. They grabbed this story from bullshit Barrett Media. Barrett Media got the story, that schmuck, a press release from one of the buttheads, could have been the program director. That's bullshit. Mike Holler. Mike Holler, let me give this. He is the producer for the 49ers broadcast on KNBR. Okay. They chose him to be the program director because Kopi Copes resigned because he was told to. They were giving him a couple of Snickers bars, an extra couple of shekels. He then got fired, and Holler took the job so he could put it on his business card. It's all bullshit. Most professional people turn that job down, that job being program director at KMBR. You want to know why? Because they were offering insulting figures. I don't know how they could stand up. And that guy, he's going to get gone anytime soon. This market manager named Larry Bloomhagen, he's the Cumulus market manager. Well, he gets paid real money, but he could be gone. Anyway, he runs the stations here. They only have 3 stations left now. They have KNBR, they have 1077 The Bone, and one other station. But really, they're truly the 2 stations that only mean anything, if that can be even said, is 1077 The Bone and KNBR, both 680 AM and FM. But I'm going to give you the number. We'll just throw it out. We'll see. If those of you here who are typing away, and thank you for coming over here. You saw my tweet, and I'm giving you the real. I'm going to give you a little bit more, too. The phone number is area code 415 999 4454. Once again, area code 415 999 39 4454. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have a text or, that kind of a thing. And we're live here on YouTube. It is a Wednesday evening, not a very prosperous evening if you're Johnny Lund and Tom Tolbert. My other headline, which I topped at the beginning of this show, and I've been on now a little while, but in essence, I feel like I owe it to you guys. Well, I don't owe anybody anything except the IRS. No, just kidding. Although, we'll make a deal. This is just the beginning, and Cumulus does not care that the holiday season is coming. In fact, they almost relish it. I'm not saying deep down, but in a way, I am saying deep down. They don't care what the calendar says. They cut and they axe. And it's just the fact is they don't have money. And they've been paying some of these guys and hemorrhaging. And when you don't have sponsorships and when you don't have any kind of financial wherewithal, I'm sorry. I just said a little while ago, bank doesn't give a shit about Greg Papa or the 49ers or Buster Posey and the Giants. And again, on Thursday, you can hear a lot of spin. The Morning Jokers, Smurf, aka Brian Murphy, and Dorcas, aka Marcus Dupree, who was an intern, and I guess he became some producer, and they gave him the job formerly held by Paulie Mack because he's cheap. He's a fanboy, and he goes around and tells, I work on the radio. I get to go to the Giants, and that kind of a thing. So I'm just telling you the truth. If you want the real inside deal, then keep it here. Bookmark my show here on YouTube. And as long as I can, I will give you what is the truth and not the bullshit. I will repeat. If you want the real deal as to what happened and what will happen in the future, come to me. If I don't know it, I'll say it. But I have been predicting now the last couple of days. A week ago, I said this was imminent. Although, excuse me, boy, could I use a nice Diet 7-Up right now. The financials are very, very bad. Look what's going on. I just said this, KFI. Look what's happening, and this is a completely different deal, but look what's happening at CNN. They're going to be letting go hundreds of jobs. We're in a very precarious situation, but at least CNN, they're owned by a conglomerate, AOL, Time Warner, and all that. A lot of these companies, CBS, they're owned by Paramount, ABC, Disney, NBC is owned by Comcast. They have announced plans. They're going to be cutting. And so the broadcasting business in general is really in a bad situation. Streaming is the amen corner now, right? But even look at NBC. They just got off the Olympics, made $1 billion, and they're going to be cutting. Radio, at least these TV and streaming, they have a shelf life. Radio does not. It's just the way it is, So here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to look at some of these comments here. I know a lot of you up here, and believe me, I'm looking right here, right now. Let me do this. I'm going to do something here. Let me see if I could do something unusual here. I don't normally do this. Let's see. Those of you that are watching me right now, here, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, the original, what is your name? Surfer Bob says, I was an avid KNBR listener for a long time. I haven't tuned in since Gary Radnich's show. Let's see. The morning garbage. I agree. It is garbage. I think you're being too kind to garbage, though, or too. Garbage is much better. Spin is bad. Plus, yeah. Okay, I see that. I miss Gary on Bay TV from Paul. Let's see. The original. You have Surfer Bob, and yeah, I know all you folks are on here too. Let's see. Well, there's a lot of comments coming. Okay. Let's see here. Paul. Yeah, well, that's cool. I believe me. Look, tell your friends um, about my show. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take a little bit of a break. And if the situation merits, I might be back on in a few, well, not a few, maybe in about a half hour, 20 minutes or so. I'll see what is taking place. And it is Wednesday evening. This is the Rich Lieberman Media Pulse on YouTube where we're live. And I will see you, hopefully. If not, I'll let you dictate it if there's more interest. And watch for my updates on Twitter, X, whatever they call it now these days. And again, uh, you can email me, rich.lieberman@gmail.com. I gave you what is the real deal, not these bullshit texts and garbage that these so-called, you know, Barrett media. What a fucking joke. Why don't you call it Barrett Public Relations for the assholes at Cumulus? Or print, they're going to print a press release. Why don't you just run that, Barrett Media? And then the Chronicle, fuck you. What a joke you are. The Chronicle is so bad right now. Even the fish, the dead fish that they wrap the old Chronicle in, they want nothing to do with the Chronicle. They much rather go to whatever, that was a bad joke. Okay. So I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks. Don't forget, real news here, real dope, not at the bullshit papers and trade outlets. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.